Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Mass Effect. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're supposed to join me today as we travel around the Normandy. We got this dude over here who has was giving us a salute, and we have almost all companions. Not all companions, we're missing one. And I have a sneeze coming up, which is a terrible thing. But I'll see when it... I was gonna say, I'll see when it comes up. It came up. So we need to get to know the ship. Replenish Maddie Gel. Dr. Shakwas.
Yes, Commander? Is there something you need?
How did you end up serving on an Alliance ship?
I enlisted right out of med school. But humanity needs the Alliance if we want to keep it...
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
Didn't I talk to you about
Commander?
that before?
Is there something you need?
Yeah.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
Interesting. I need to remember that. We asked about Kaidan. We asked about her young years, I suppose. I don't know where Kaidan is. I don't know where anybody is. Kaidan! What's up?
Anything you need, Commander?
Just trying to get a sense of where the crew's at. Thoughts?
I've wasted enough of your time for now, Commander. We'll have time for personal debriefings later.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
I don't see how we could have done things any better. At least not without getting to Eden Prime sooner. And we were on the scene faster than any other Alliance ship could have been.
We'll talk another time, Lieutenant.
Commander?
Well, that's one way of dealing with companions. Their dialogue is very straightforward. We have a sleeper pod. And we have a codex entry for that, actually. Cabins give each individual 10 cubic meters of space, or on larger vessels, private rooms are common. As ships get smaller, the number of crew packed into a single wardroom increases. Society prefers shared spaces even on large vessels, while Krogan territorial instincts make it impossible for them to cohabitate even on the smallest ships. On smaller vessels, hot bunking is the norm, quote-unquote. Crew members assigned to different watches share the same bunk. When one gets off duty, he wakes up and they wake up the person in the bunk. While the crewman is on duty, the first gets their rack time. Spacecraft compartments can be isolated by airtight doors in case of decompression. The cinematic vision of explosive decompression is fiction. Yes, it is, actually, yeah. Hold up compartments either take enough damage that occupants are killed instantly or leak slowly enough that they are able to reach protective gear. Compartments are equipped with emergency life support apparatus, fireproof plastic bubbles with air bottles, small when stowed ELSA comfortably accommodate one individual inflated. Why would you inflate individuals? Please don't do that. That's probably bad for their health. Mass Effect fields create an artificial gravity, a grav plane that below the decks, preventing muscle atrophy and bone loss in 0G. Large vessels arrange their decks perpendicular to their thrust axis. The, quote, highest, unquote, decks are at the bow, and the, quote, lowest, unquote, at the engines. This allows a grav to work with the inertial effects of ships that can land arrange their deck laterally so the crew can move about while the vessel is on the ground. What do you mean laterally? That text was weird. I didn't like it. This ship cannot land? You mean it like sideways? I have no idea what it means. It's all very confusing. Anyway, let's go down. And I believe that's where we have both, Tali? What's her name? Sadi. Yeah. And, Wrex. Potentially. Oh, look at that.
Hey, Commander. Looking for some extra supplies before you head out?
What have you got?
Whatever you want. Armor, weapons, mods. It's not standard Alliance issue, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, as long as you don't mind paying for it.
Why should I pay you for my weapons and armor?
My stuff doesn't come from the Alliance. I have to purchase it myself, and it's not cheap. Hell, the licenses alone have set me back more than I'd like. But no licenses, no goods. Without the goods, I'm out of a job.
What are licenses? Why do you need them?
Manufacturers sell licenses. Each license allows me to buy and sell a certain brand of products. I already have several basic ones, but you'll need to buy more if you want me to bring in different brands. Many of the best licenses are hard to get, but they're well worth the cost if you can find them.
What do the different manufacturers offer?
There are too many for me to keep track of, but each license will explain what it's good for.
How often will you get new items?
Well, that depends on how many licenses you've purchased, but I'll rotate items on a regular basis regardless. And anytime we land someplace with a big enough port, I'll buy, sell, and trade whatever I can. Check back often. I need to move items quickly, so only the most basic items will be stocked consistently.
Buddy boy, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna sell anything to me. You're just gonna eat the cost of all the licenses you bought.
Let's see what you got.
And
You
also
bet, Commander.
eat the cost of the equipment that he has. Look at that! Just freaking hell, these people are out of their minds. Increase the maximum units of Medigel by 1. That is what I'm talking about. Unique item. Everything else is completely out of my range. Not by much, admittedly, but still. And I could sell my equipment. I will eventually. It's fine. So look at the... Oh, Garrus is here. Hi, Garrus. You're hanging out with this airplane-looking machine. This thing creates lift. This thing creates lift like a truck. Seriously, that front is I mean, it doesn't go very far, or very fast, I should say. So it's probably not a big deal.
Thanks for bringing me on board, Commander. I knew working with the Spectre would be better than life at CSEC.
Actually, I say it creates lift. Yeah, it also has jets, so it's supposed to create lift. That's good for it flying. So it's like an airplane, amphibious car thingy.
Have you worked with the Spectre before?
Well, no, but I know what they're like. Spectres make their own rules. You're free to handle things your way. At CSEC, you're buried by rules. The damn bureaucrats are always on your back.
For the most part, the rules are there for a reason.
Maybe. But sometimes it feels like the rules are only there to stop me from doing my work. If I'm trying to take down a suspect, it shouldn't matter how I do it, as long as I do it.
But CSEC wants it done their way. Protocol and procedure come first. That's why I left.
You see, if you don't take the suspect down properly, then they can claim for things like a mistrial, for example, or something like that, because law has a lot of things, and law is basically a code of conduct, and if you step out of the code of conduct, then other people can just claim that you didn't do things the right way, and depending on what kind of civilization really that you live in, that's why the laws are there.
So you just quit because you didn't like the way they do things?
There's more to it than that. It didn't start out bad, but as I rose in ranks, I got saddled with more and more red tape. CSEC's handling of Saren was typical. I just couldn't take it anymore. I hate leaving.
It also sort of... Why does he want to do his job in the first place? That's a legitimate question to ask. It's like, oh, the laws are preventing me to do my job. That's because he doesn't see the laws as his job, which is worrying to begin with. But also, so if they're preventing you from doing your job, just don't do your job. What the heck are you doing? It's like, if I go to work and the computer doesn't work, I'm not just going to smash my head against the wall until the websites are done. So what? The computer is preventing me from doing my job. I don't give a damn. Who pays for the computer? Let them deal with that. It's like, yeah. The thing is, the reason why he wants to do his job is because he doesn't see his job as what his job actually is, which is enforcing the law. He sees his job as hunting criminals down, which is not the same.
It's not the end of the world. You'll have tougher decisions soon enough.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Either way, I plan to make the most of this.
And without CSEC headquarters looking over my shoulder, well, maybe I can get the job done my way for a change.
No, you're not getting the job. You're definitely not your way. My way. I can't even say no. It's my way here. You're in. You're not gonna like it. Let's see what this one is.
If getting the job done means endangering innocent people, then no. We get the job done right, not fast.
That's not what I
Got it?
meant.
I wasn't trying to. I understand, Commander.
I didn't mean to say that. That was the Paragon option, I think, but it didn't change anything, so whatever. Hey, Ashley, what's up? Looking at the guns.
Commander,
What's your opinion of the last mission?
kinda wish you'd got there sooner, Commander. No offense, I appreciate the rescue. I just wish...
You wish we'd been able to save the rest of your unit.
Yes, ma'am. If I had been more alert, we wouldn't have been cut down by an ambush.
The Geth are perfect ambushers. They don't move, they don't make noise, they don't even breathe.
They have flashlight heads, ma'am. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
What's your opinion of the
Kinda
last
wish you'd got... No offense, I
Yeah,
appreciate
so
the rescue.
I can keep asking
If I
that.
had been more
Interesting.
alert, we wouldn't have been cut... They have...
Which probably means that it doesn't have a consequence.
Do you have a few minutes to talk? One-on-one?
I'm sorry, Commander. I need to get my duties squared away. I wouldn't mind talking more later, though.
Dismissed, Chief.
Ma'am.
Oh, the tension. The tension. So, we can equip them from here, except for this one, the mysterious one. Okay, so that's pretty good, because that way I can worry about... Oh, this is bad, because I don't know what they like. I can worry about their equipment later. Yeah, I don't know what they like. I think... Isn't she SMG? Assault rifle, maybe? Well, armor is definitely a thing, so... Yeah, that's always going to be an assault rifle. I don't know why he did it like that. There we go. That is better, except for that. Let's see how you look with that. You look really cool. I like it. So, good. Hiccup. Wrex. You don't have armor. Yeah, I'm gonna need to learn what kind of weapons they have. Because, yeah, otherwise, just, it's not good. It's important to know that, though. It's important. Hey, Wrex.
Nice ship you've got, Shepard. What can I do for you?
What's your story, Wrex?
There's no story. Go ask the Quarian if you want stories.
You Krogans live for centuries. Don't tell me you haven't had a few interesting adventures.
Well, there was this one time the Turians almost wiped out our entire race. That was fun.
I heard about that. You know, they almost did the same to us.
It's not the same.
It seems pretty much the same to me.
So your people were infected with a genetic mutation? An infection that makes only a few in 1,000 children survive birth? And I suppose it's destroying your entire species?
I suppose it isn't all the same.
I don't expect you to understand, but don't compare humanity's fate with the Krogan.
Sorry, Wrex. I wasn't trying to get you upset.
Your ignorance doesn't upset me, Shepard. As for the Krogan, I gave up on them long ago. The genophage infected us, but it's not what's killing us.
Are your people really dying?
We're sure not getting any stronger. We're too spread out. None of us are interested in staying in our own system.
Lots of species have left their homes and prospered.
But they go to colonize new worlds. We're not settlers. We're warriors. We want to fight. So we leave. Hire ourselves out. And most of us never go back.
What can you tell me about the genophage?
Ask the Solarians if you want details. They made it. All I know, it makes breeding nearly impossible. Thousands die in stillbirth, and most never get that far. Every Krogan is infected, Everyone. And no one's rushing to find a cure.
Why don't the Krogan try to find a cure?
When was the last time you saw a Krogan scientist? You ask a Krogan, would he rather find a cure for the genophage or fight for credits? He'll choose fighting every time. It's just who we are, Shepard. I can't change that. Nobody can.
So long, Wrex.
Shepard.
It's a really tough situation for the Krogans. So we got both of these entries over here. The genophage bioweapon was created to end the Krogan rebellions. From the start, the Krogan had overwhelmed the Council. Only timely first contact with the Turians saved the Council races. The Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, but sheer weight of Krogan numbers, indicated the war could not be won through conventional means. The Turians collaborated with the Salarians to genetically engineer a counter to the rapid breeding of the Krogan. The genophage virus gained the energy to replicate by eating key genetic sequences. That's a quote-unquote eating. Every cell in every Krogan had to be altered for the weapon to be foolproof. Otherwise, the Krogan could have used gene therapy to fix the affected tissues. Once the genophage strain could find no more genes to eat, it would starve and die, limiting spin-off mutation and contamination. This created, quote-unquote, genetic flaw is hereditary. The Salarians believed that the genophage would be used as a deterrent, a position the Turians viewed as naive. Once the project was complete, the Turians mass-produced and deployed it. The Krogan homeworld, their colonies, and all occupied worlds were infected. The resulting mutation made only one in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies carried to term. It did not reduce fertility, but offspring viability. The rare females able to carry children to term became prizes the Krogan warlords fought brutal battles over. The Krogan are a shadow of their former glory. While the rebellions took place centuries ago, they are constantly reminded of the horror of the genophage and of their inability to counter it. The release of the genophage is still controversial, bitterly debated in many circles. It's also interesting that it's not about... this is wrong. It's not about the offspring viability. It's about the fertility of women Krogan, specifically. Because of this one thing that also implies also explains why Krogans are all male. At least I think in the first game they definitely are. And then over here we have the rebellions after the Rachni War. The quick breeding Krogan This is also weird as well, because it's not like they're Zerg. How long does a Krogan require? Like, do they grow to full adulthood in like 2 months? It's like, well, how big do they? Like, unless the wars are just really slow, which I don't think they would be, because this is a fiction made for humans. If wars take 1,000 years for one battalion to go from one place to another or something like that, and then how quick breathing they are actually mattered, yeah, it's just I don't understand what this is supposed to be. I think we're not supposed to think about too much about this. The quick breeding Krogan expanded at the it's not about the war in this case. This is about the colonization. At the expense of their neighbors, warlords leveraged their veteran soldiers to seize living space, while the council races were still grateful. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world. There was always just one more needed. When the council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Lucia, Krogan overlord Kredak stormed off the citadel, daring the council to take their worlds back. As probably he was in the right in this case, because shut up, council. What are you talking about? It's like. We're not. This expansion here is not portrayed as an aggressive expansion. It's specifically talked about. It's a fucking expansion. They fuck a lot. They fuck so much, and then they have a lot of planets because of it. It's the opposite. It's the make love, not war expansion. And then in come the council, who we have established multiple times are a bunch of racist pricks. And says that they can't have the worlds. At least that's to this point. I might be misunderstanding this, or they could be hiding certain details about it that just completely changed my interpretation of it. But that's what it says right there. But the council had taken precautions. Genocide. They had taken the precaution of genocide. The finest SDG. What is that for? I don't actually know what that is, but it is STG operators and Asari huntresses had been drafted into a covert, quote, observation force, unquote, the Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance. Oh, that's the Spectres, yeah. The Spectres opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet. I thought the extranet was between planets and not. Anyway, sabotaged antimatter refineries, disappeared in blue-white annihilation. Oh, right. The refineries were sabotaged and then disappeared in blue-white annihilation, which is what happens when antimatter hits matter. It annihilates, and all energy is lost. At least as far as we know, because antimatter is not understood. It's not a real thing in the sense that we don't know if it is a real thing. It might be, or it might not be. Headquarters stations shattered into orbit, clogging debris, rammed by pre-placed suicide freighters. Still, this only, because they couldn't use missiles. This only, the suicide freighters, that doesn't make sense in space warfare. I mean, it would make sense if you needed the freighters to go into protected territory and then explode in there, for sure. I mean, yeah, that would make sense. But if you're just shooting at something, you just need to shoot something at nearly the speed of light and nobody's gonna see you. Unless they have shields, which might be the case as well. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for the first contact with the Turians, who yeah, we read about this before. So the Krogans are not portrayed as aggressive. The war against them was not a war of defense. It was a war of aggression. Although, maybe it wasn't. Because again, I don't know. That's our mass drive, by the way. Is it called the mass drive? Tali.
Your ship's amazing, Shepard. I've never seen a drive core like this before. I can't believe you were able to fit it into a ship this small. I'm starting to understand why you humans have been so successful. I had no idea Alliance vessels were so advanced.
The Normandy's a prototype, cutting-edge technology.
A month ago, I was patching a makeshift fuel line into a converted tug ship in the flotilla. Now, I'm sitting on board one of the most advanced vessels in Citadel space. I have to thank you again for bringing me along. Traveling on a vessel like this is a dream come true for me.
I had no idea you found ship technology so interesting.
It comes with being a Quarian. The migrant fleet is the key to the survival of my people. Ships are our most valuable resource. But we don't have anything like this. We make do with cast-offs and second-hand equipment. We just try to keep them running for as long as we can. Some of the fleet's larger vessels date all the way back to our original flight from the Geth.
I can't believe your fleet's still using ships that are 3 centuries old.
They're constantly being repaired, modified, and refitted. They aren't pretty, but they work. Mostly. We've tried to make ourselves as independent as possible on the flotilla. Grow our own food, mine, and process our own fuel. But some things we just can't make on our own. A patch to maintain the hull integrity requires raw materials we just don't have. That's why our pilgrimages are so important.
Tell me about your people.
Our lives aren't easy. Resources are scarce, and we are constantly on the move. Everything we do must in some way contribute to the continuation of the migrant fleet. There are 17 million Quarians in the flotilla, and each of us relies on the others for survival. The bonds among my people are strong. Unfortunately, we have had to surrender many of the freedoms and civil liberties other species take for granted.
What kind of freedoms?
Well, it's illegal for parents to have more than one child. If our population grows too much, it would strain our resources to their breaking point. Of course, we also can't allow our numbers to become too few. If our population is in decline, the rule against single births is temporarily repealed. In extreme cases of population decline, incentives are even offered to encourage multiple births, though the Conclave hasn't had to take such measures in nearly a century.
I'd like to know what kind of incentives those would be. because like it. What do they pay you to have children? How would they do that? Where does the money come from? That implies taxation, which might exist, obviously, but
That's your government.
The Conclave is our civilian branch of government. Each ship can elect a representative to serve on the Conclave and make decisions that affect the fleet as a whole. On matters that affect an individual ship, however, the captain has the final say. It's a tradition that dates back to the early days, when the fleet was governed by martial law. Fortunately, most captains nowadays are smart enough to have an elected council from their crew to give them advice and guidance.
although to be honest, like their ships probably work on, like nobody is solely responsible for their, or people probably aren't individually responsible for their food and for their living accommodations and all this sort of stuff. So basically, their ships must take care of everything. So they just get a better bed and just better food or something. But how would they do that though? That still doesn't work. Because why wouldn't, like, were they just not making the nice food? Is that what? Because the thing is, those incentives need to work on, like, it doesn't work as in a from a normal economical standpoint. Incentives in general don't work from a normal economic standpoint. Incentives, because from like if you don't have I think it necessarily has to be a trade-based economy, then you can, like, only a trade-based economy can have incentives, because the trade-based economy will necessarily not have people living at the best they can have. If everybody's sharing things equally, or as equally as they're allowed to, given the demographic or war situation or wherever you are, if you're sharing your stuff equally and just being like, well, I take care of the food for everybody in this village or in this ship, and I take care of the shoes, and I take care of the cats or whatever. If you're sharing all that, then everybody's getting the best they can have given the circumstances. In a trade-based economy, that doesn't work like that, because you're going to be having the best you can have given the trade power of your of your group or of your ship or whatever, and only in those can you actually have taxation. That's what I said, or lack thereof. But if you're going to give incentives, you're going to require taxation. Otherwise, it still doesn't work. So I would like to know what those incentives are, because it doesn't look like it's possible. And also, she says that they haven't done it in 1,000 years or in 100 years, which means that it probably isn't possible. And if the incentives were probably very tenuous, or probably didn't exist in the first place, and she's just saying things because she was taught, and she didn't think about what I'm talking about when she was taught this sort of stuff. And also, you're democratic. Fortunately, most captains nowadays are smart enough to have an elected council from their crew to give them advice and guidance. That's not democracy. That's not democracy. That's electiveness. It's electiveness for sure, but that's not what democracy means.
So the ultimate power rests with elected officials?
In practice, the Conclave and the respective council for each ship tend to set the rules that govern our daily lives. But in theory, we are still under military jurisdiction. The 5 top-ranking military officials in the fleet serve on the Admiralty Board. These 5 have the power to overrule any decision by the Conclave in case of emergency. To do so requires unanimous agreement among the Admiralty, and they can only do this once. After that, the entire board must resign their posts. It's a safeguard that served us well. In nearly 3 centuries, the Admiralty Board has only overruled the Conclave 4 times.
I mean, it probably works pretty well, but then again, it's a fiction setting, so you can just say that it works pretty well. It's kind of funny that the line was, so you have democracy, and then she says the power is with the elected officials, which is funny, because that is one of the least convincing ways of describing a democracy, in the sense that think of all the dictatorships in the world right now, and you'll count a bunch of them that are elected officials who are in power in those dictatorships. Yeah. Now, you can say, well, the elections aren't fair, or this or that. Well, it's all a matter of degree, isn't it? They are still elected officials, and even in the ones where the elections are fair, it's still fair to what extent? Because of things like voter suppression and the role of advertisement in the elections, and misinformation, and the preying on specific classes of people for particular political power in a given setting. It works so much better in space, though, in a science fiction setting, than it does in real life, because in real life it's so much more complicated, honestly. But you can think of examples. I don't need to give you examples. It's just, yeah. So that was about her people, not about the Geth. I am really curious about the Geth, but we don't have time for right now. We're gonna ask about that in the next episode.
I should go.
See you later.
And we leveled up again! Yay! So yeah, I don't think this is the mass drive. It's the Element Zero core. That's right. Oh, we learned about Element Zero as well. Yeah, but for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Mass Effect. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.